Wow, that was such a wonderful conversation with Ethan. I learned so much about his diagnosis of PANDAS and also about CBD. Like, this has some magical properties. I think it can help a lot of people on the planet right now.
Yeah, another tool for your toolbox, as we like to say.
Yes.
And yeah, it was an interesting conversation. I had chronic strep when I was a kid too. Makes me wonder if I should get a test to see if anything's still going on out there. But another wonderful thing that Ethan is offering is a free coupon code for his CBD products. So we're going to drop the website and everything in our show notes, but you can use coupon code WELCOME25 and get 25% off your first order, which is awesome. So check that out and listen to this episode.
Yeah, we're going shopping now.
Yeah.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. We're glad you're joining us as always. And today we are speaking with Ethan Pompeo. And Ethan's life took a turn for the worst when he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called PANDAS as a kid. Now his company is transforming the health and lives of others with simple, effective wellness solutions for the whole family. So we're really excited to hear about that. Welcome to the show, Ethan.
Hey, thank you so much.
Wow. So as per usual, I've been doing a little recon on PANDAS and Ethan and his story. So I'm not going to get into it too much, but I think there's a lot of similarities with the things and the way Ethan lives his life and the things that he does to stay healthy. So with that, I'm going to let Ethan take it away and just share your story from being a teenager and discovering that you have PANDAS. Tell us about your journey a little bit.
Yeah, so PANDAS is a little known autoimmune disease. It's actually an acronym. It's not that black and white bamboo munching cuddly bear we all know.
No, that'd be a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love PANDAS, right?
Yeah.
When I tell people what it is, it kind of raises eyebrows. It's pediatric autoimmune neurological disorders associated with strep. And essentially what that means is there's a strep throat infection that causes an unusual autoimmune response in the body, namely excess antibody production. So when looking back at my blood work as a teenager, my strep antibodies were off the charts. I mean, we couldn't even really get a good measurement. They were so high, which was an indicator that I had a recurring strep infection that my body was continually trying to fight off. And, antibodies are frontline defenders against foreign pathogens and invaders, but they can become problematic when they're produced in excess like that. They're one of the few compounds that can cross the blood-brain barrier, which is what happened to me. Ended up causing inflammation in my basal ganglia, which is the motor cortex of the body. And in essence, I went from a quote unquote normal, healthy 13-year-old boy to being plagued with all kinds of neurological symptoms, severe motor tics and loss of motor function, severe anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, and many other symptoms and anger and frustration that accompanied those. And so PANDAS is often characterized by sudden onset, which is very much what I experienced. I mean, I woke up one day and all of a sudden I had these tics, and we were like, what the heck is going on? And it took almost a decade for me to get that diagnosis. I was misdiagnosed with Tourette's syndrome as a kid, which was essentially a label used to prescribe me medication, right? So by the time
which is probably most kids still probably just diagnosed with Tourette's when maybe they have something more underlying, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Now, they are two
Yeah.
separate diagnoses, but I'm under the
Mhm.
impression that many of the Tourette syndrome cases are actually attributed to this baseline infection and autoimmune response.
Mm,
However, the
Yes.
problem is so many people are unaware of this, which is
right.
why I'm here on your show promoting the
Yeah.
awareness.
Yes.
I know
Um,
I had never heard of it, and that's why I'm wondering, like you said, that they had tested and they saw that those antibodies for the strep were so high. Is that what didn't happen for 10 years, that they realized that that's what that was, or were they seeing it and just didn't have the awareness around what that indicated?
Yeah, I think they were more or less ignorant towards this diagnosis in
Mm,
general.
yeah.
When you look at it from like a 10,000 foot perspective, like seeing these ticks, like these uncontrolled movements, the
Yeah.
obsessive compulsive behavior, all the neurological symptoms, it's counterintuitive to attribute that to like a bacterial infection, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
PANDAS is a clinical diagnosis. There's no like quantitative test you can take that says, "Oh yeah, you've
Right.
got this." So it involves
Hmm.
putting together the pieces, looking at your blood work, your medical history,
Yeah.
your symptom load, all these things, and determining like, yes, here's the cause and effect,
Yeah.
and this is what you have. So I went, the good part of 10 years without even knowing what was going on and being mistreated as such.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that my daughter, well, I had an autoimmune also. I ended up with, bacterial infection, which no one could find. Same thing, like physician after physician after physician, and finally just discovering they have Lyme, amongst other things, right? So is it the chicken or the egg, right? And then
Yeah.
my daughter has what's called POTS syndrome.
Mm.
So POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome, and it results from a trauma, and it creates this sympathetic response, which keeps her in fight or flight like 24/7. Same sort of thing, like it's fairly new diagnosis, and it can
Hmm.
be just a combination of you've done all these tests and finding the right doctor that can pull everything together to give you this diagnosis, because you can go
Yeah.
to rheumatologists and cardiologists and all
Right.
the ologists until you finally get someone and have an aha moment, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that
that's got to have been a big moment for you after 10 years of suffering with this, to finally have someone say, "We know what this is." Now, talk about that a little bit. What, you were 23 by then, it sounds like.
That just about, yeah. It
Mm.
was midway through college essentially, and you're absolutely right. Like what you just said totally resonates with me. I mean,
Mm.
when you break your arm, you go to the doctor, they splint your arm, give you
Yeah,
some medication if necessary, and out you go. You're better in a few weeks. But when you go
right.
in with some kind of more difficult to diagnose or lesser understood problem, you know,
Right.
it's anyone's guess what will happen. And so that was really
Right.
a turning point for me when I
Hmm.
got that correct diagnosis, that PANDAS, because it gave us an understanding of the root cause of my illness
Right.
instead of just trying to treat the symptoms with
Yeah.
drugs, essentially a
Yes.
bandage, right? You
Yeah.
put the
Mhm.
bandage on, it helps for a little bit, maybe, and the side
Maybe.
effects outweighed the benefits of most of these
Yeah.
drugs that I tried. I remember feeling
Yeah.
like a zombie as a teenager,
Yes.
getting in trouble in math class, falling asleep at my desk.
Yeah.
Just a really terrible quality of life, and
Yeah.
Mm.
it was a double-edged sword. Like I either deal with my symptoms, grit my teeth and work through them, or, I'm sedated by these
Yeah.
medications. And
Right.
either
Yeah.
way,
Right.
it's not fun.
So
No.
even though you got the diagnosis, they really weren't quite sure how to treat it. Is that what I'm hearing? So it was like, okay, just throw a pill at this for the Tourette's quote, or the tics, throw a pill at the anxiety, throw a pill at this. So that's essentially all they were doing to treat you. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, my first visit to the psychologist, the psychiatrist was, yeah, try this pill. I was in and out of his office in like 5 minutes. I felt like
Yeah.
he gave me hope at first because it was like, oh, case closed, it's Tourette's, like move on. So that was kind
Right.
of, we were hopeful in that moment
Right.
that this
Right.
guy knew what he was talking about. But the first medication I tried did absolutely nothing. It was actually a blood pressure medication that
Yeah.
had off-label use for like maybe tremors and ticks and stuff like that.
Mm.
So it was basically
Yeah.
like, yeah, here, try this pill, see if it works. If
The
not, we'll
beta
try something.
blocker, yeah, the beta blocker is one stop shopping. Everybody just gives the beta blocker. It doesn't matter which
Mm.
all do you have take they did the same thing with my daughter. Just take a beta blocker and the same thing. She's like she's kind of, depressed and
Yeah.
tired.
Well, what
Right.
about
So
when they actually had the PANDAS diagnosis? Then was there some hope, or was it just at least you knew what it was, but now we don't know what to do with it? What happened at that point?
no.
Well, that was absolutely a turning point because, like I said, instead of just treating the symptoms with
Yeah.
prescriptions, right, the other side is going after the root cause of the illness, actually
Yes.
targeting the bacterial infection, eliminating that strep bacteria that was causing the inflammation, and
Mm,
Right.
then going after the inflammation subsequently. So getting rid of that inflammation in the basal ganglia, which was the cause of my symptoms and my tics and all these things. And if we can
yeah,
reduce that inflammation, then we can get rid of the symptoms more naturally.
Right.
that's
Right.
great. That's great. So basically, you had this strep um, infection for over 10 years.
Oh yeah, on and off. And I was asymptomatic for most of that time. So I didn't even really
Ah,
know
interesting.
when. I mean, they would do a throat culture and it would come back negative. And we didn't know when I was infected and when I wasn't.
Yeah.
So we just knew by the antibody
Um,
counts that I had been battling this for a very long time.
Wow.
Right, right. Well, and then if you're on antibiotics, it won't show up on the culture, right? Because it's showing the antibiotic is managing it. So the culture is inaccurate during that time,
Mm,
right? So even though you're
Yeah.
throwing all these things at it, it'll throw a false positive or a false negative depend in your particular case, right?
And
So
yeah.
so then, so talk about like, so you said you talked about, okay, so try some natural things. So what was that like? What did like, okay, so you're just trying to get rid of inflammation. What did that look like? And were you going to a naturopath or something by now, or some other type of healing person?
Oh man, by that point we had tried everything. I mean, we
mm.
tried every diet under the sun. We tried every medication it seemed like, acupuncture, massage therapy. My parents, bless them, they were just such advocates for me trying
That's
everything,
awesome. I was going to
scouring
ask
the
that. I was
internet.
like, you say we, what was your team? So your parents were really there with you. That's great.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad I had them because for the longest time I was just so ashamed of what I was
Yeah.
dealing with. I didn't want to admit that I had a problem, right? I'm in
Hmm.
Yeah.
class, my colleagues, my peers see me ticking and twitching and picking up my pencil and putting it down over and over again, and they can see something's wrong. And I
Yeah.
mean, it was a daily ask for me
Yeah.
to hear like, "Hey, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
dude, are you okay?" And it
Yeah.
Yeah.
drove me completely nuts. I mean, I
Right.
just dealt
That's the
with
last
so
thing you
much.
want when you're a
Yeah.
teen is draw more attention to whatever's going on with you. Like
Yeah.
it's just not a time when we're
Yeah.
empowered to say, this is what's happening necessarily.
Did you
Nope.
have the cursing thing going on too? My girlfriend, one of her best friends has Tourette's, and she had the cursing thing going on. So she's just blurting out F bombs and during classroom and right, like so that was like they just had to pull her out of class. Like it was too disruptive, right?
I dealt with
Yeah.
that in my more private life for sure. Some of these
Oh, okay.
symptoms I had the ability to like suppress or like keep it under my breath at least while I was dealing with
Mm,
it. And
Wow.
it's difficult to understand if you don't deal with it personally, but you have to express this anxiety and these compulsive behaviors
right.
that your brain is telling you to do. You have to express it somehow. So it's either
Yes.
a physical tick or a verbal tick, which could
Yeah.
be like a sound, which I
Right.
exhibited very frequently,
Yeah.
or yeah, the profanities which I let loose sometimes after coming
Yeah.
home from school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Compulsion. I mean, that really kind of describes it.
Yeah.
You're compelled to expel that in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at
So,
some point you become frustrated enough where you decide, I'm going to take this into my own hands and I'm going to start figuring this out, right? Like you're just so frustrated, nothing's working. So tell us about that. Like how'd you begin that journey and figuring that out?
So the beginning of my journey, I did not, I did what you said, but not in a very healthy way. So
Mhm.
I essentially experienced what I call physician fatigue. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I was just sick of doctors and doctor
yeah.
appointments and pills and prescriptions and pharmacies and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
I was just done with it. And during my time in high school, I had come across cannabis, and I was smoking daily because,
Yeah.
quite frankly, it was the only thing I found that gave me some relief. I mean, I
Yeah.
knew when I smoked, my tics went away, my anxiety decreased, I felt better,
Mm-hmm.
I could take a deep breath, but the
Yeah.
side effects of that were also not great. I mean, I experienced paranoia, depending on like what quality I got my hands on, my anxiety could spike. You know, I had the
Mm.
red
Right.
eyes. I had a couple of interactions with law enforcement that were
Yeah.
extremely stressful,
Sure.
just
Yeah.
trying to use my medicine, right?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so I needed to find something that gave me those benefits without all the negatives and without all the health risks of inhaling particulate matter and
Yes.
carcinogens and all this stuff. So the turning point for me came when I realized why cannabis was helping me. And just a little bit of background, I come from a very conservative family. We had turmoil in my household over my cannabis use. And it
Mm-hmm.
all came down to one evening I came home from school and my dad said, Ethan, have you been smoking? And I just looked at him and I'd been busted over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
looked at my dad and I said, Dad, why are you asking me this? And he looked at me and said, well, you're just so calm. Like, you're not ticking, you're just relaxed. And I said, Dad, like, think about what you just said. Like, do
Yeah.
you realize why I'm doing it? And it's like the light bulb went off
Right.
and they understood, like, oh man,
Yeah.
he's not just trying
Yeah.
to get high with his friends. Like, he's
Yes.
actually using this for some kind of benefit.
Yeah.
And that really kind of opened up the door to explore this instead of hiding
Yes.
behind it. And so what happened is I realized there's not just THC in cannabis. There's not just a
Mm-hmm.
compound that gets you high. There's over 30 different active compounds that can be
Yep.
beneficial to our health. THC is just one of them, and while it does have its medical benefits, it's certainly not for everybody and certainly not for
Yeah.
kids. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I realized that CBD, probably something most of us are familiar with. I call it nature's most powerful anti-inflammatory. And
Mm-hmm.
CBD is also present in cannabis and hemp. And what it did was it reduced the inflammation in my brain, in my basal ganglia. And so when I
Hmm.
took CBD orally through a soft gel or an oil, like a tincture form, or even rubbing
Mm-hmm.
it on topically, it helped reduce my inflammation without having to smoke or be high or have any of these side effects
Right.
or unintended health consequences. So CBD, in essence, gave me the relief I needed to take a deep breath, refocus, and
Yeah.
actually move forward because, again, I wasn't sedated or dealing with those side effects any longer.
Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Core Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Core Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's
Lifetime.
right. That's
Buy
right.
it once and we'll keep
Lifetime.
updating it too.
Yes, yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Core Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it.
Right. Yeah. And, I had a reaction as you were talking about your parents because, we had a similar experience just with our, not the same, but my point is kind of that my generation, we were scared straight. We were saying nope to dope and ugh to drug. We were like, it was
Yeah.
pounded into us, drugs, bad, bad, bad. And so, and then, all of it was just bad. Meanwhile, everybody's having their cocktail every night, and that's acceptable. So there's these paradigms that were set in place, and then, gateway drugs and all of this. And so once we kind of stopped listening to all the hype and said, wait, what's good here? What's useful? And it feels like that's a moment that your dad was able to have, like, wait, I've just been told this is
Yeah.
bad, bad, bad. And I'm not really having the thought process of, wait, if this is helping my son, then there's something good here. And how can
Mhm.
we take what's good and as you say, leave behind the paranoia and the problems with your lungs and some of the other stuff and find what's good. And for so long that was not allowed was physically not, legal in America, to
Right.
even look for ways that some of these drugs, whether it was cannabis or some of the psychedelics that are getting a second look now, what were the benefits and how could it be used for positive? So I think it's so great that we're at this place now where we're opening our eyes to say there's more to this,
Mm.
and how and what's the good here, because a lot of research, a lot of good research time was lost because we just were like, no, this is a no. And now it's like, let's look at this. Let's get curious. So
Mm.
I think that's really that's great that we're now having. There's going to be benefits that come from this, just like what you're experiencing with your life and with dealing with this chronic illness that you've had to find relief and to find. And it's obviously it's not just going to be for pandas. It's there's going to be other, like, have you already found some other applications, I would think, that this CBD can be helpful for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the top three most common uses for CBD are pain relief, anxiety relief, which has been shown in clinical trials to be effective, and sleep support.
Mm,
And
Yes.
it's not a sedative. It's not going to put you behind the wheel, but it can help you again just to kind of take that edge off and relax and take a
Right.
deep breath and get into that natural position of sleep, which is
Right.
so beneficial. It doesn't cause
oh yeah.
those long-term health consequences that pharmaceuticals do. And what I find really interesting, you mentioned gateway drug. That's like a trigger word for me.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
because everyone said, "Oh, he's smoking weed. He's gonna be a druggie. He's gonna end up in
Yeah.
Yeah.
prison." So,
Yes.
and for me, the gateway drug was actually the pharmaceuticals, the prescriptions that the doctor
Yes.
was giving to me
Yeah.
normalized the use of substances in my life for years and years, to the point
Right.
where
Yes.
smoking weed was nothing to me, right?
Right.
It's like another way to treat the symptoms, and it was more fun, and it had that oral
Yeah.
fixation, so it was
Yeah.
highly addictive, and it
Yeah.
put me down a very painful path and
Mm,
trajectory for a long time. And what's
Yeah.
ironic is that through finding CBD, which is a cannabis compound, it actually pushed me away from that use model of abusing the
Yes.
plant and
yes.
abusing the medicine. So I
Yeah.
actually found relief through CBD, and it got me away from that lifestyle of smoking,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's profound. That
It
that is a
is.
very profound statement right there.
Yes.
Like, let's underline that one for sure. I know you mentioned that not all CBD is the same, and I actually have a little personal experience with this. My husband, he's a serial entrepreneur, and he decided he wanted to have a CBD company. And we found someone in Colorado, and we started down the road. It is a complicated business. It is
Yeah.
just not for anyone to go, oh, I'm growing some stuff in the backyard. I'm gonna pull off some CBD and like call it a day. But it is complicated, and it is, like you said, there are some CBDs that are sort of wired to help with anxiety. There are those that are more wired to help with your sleep. There are those who are more wired to help with inflammation, correct? Like
Mhm.
you can compound your CBD specifically to those things you're trying to fix. Is that right?
That is true. Yeah, and part of that has to do with not just the CBD, but the other compounds that are present in the plant. There's another
Yes.
one called CBN, which has powerful sedative properties. So typically
Mm,
that's a great option for sleep support. There's CBG, which has been shown to have natural antiviral properties. It can also
mm,
support mood and focus. I know a lot of folks who have children with autism who are using that product to help them with their focus and their mood,
yes.
and even their speech. It's incredible what can be done. Now, moving into what more I do, more or less, with my company, with Green Valley Nutrition, we're focused on just those pure isolates, is what they're called. So
Yeah.
essentially, we extract the pure form of the CBD and CBG and CBN and offer that to you in a way that's very consistent and very pure. There's zero THC in all of our
Mhm.
products for the purpose of making it safe for everyone.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
said, there are some benefits to THC, but it's simply not for everyone. It's not for me. So
Right.
if
Yeah.
you're giving this to your child, for example, or even your dog, or somebody
Yes.
who's being drug screened for work, truckers,
Yes.
military personnel, they can all take advantage of this product because there's no risk of failing a drug screen or getting high or
Well,
anything
that's good to
like
know.
that.
That's good
Yeah.
to know
Yeah.
because my husband has a security clearance, and so
Yeah.
he'll often say, "Oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that." But he certainly has a lot of information, so that's good to
Mm.
know for people who that's still a concern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's perfectly safe for everybody, but you have to do your due diligence and know what's in it. I appreciate you saying, Debbie, that it's a complicated business because,
Yeah.
goodness, yeah, I did not know what I was getting into. I started making these products for myself out of the spare bedroom of the house I was
Mm-hmm.
staying in.
So
Mm-hmm.
you did. So you were on a mission. You were on a
Oh
mission.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I started, posting this up on Snapchat and like sending pictures to my friends. They're like, "What are you doing?" And pretty soon, Granny said, "Oh, I can't sleep. Let me try that stuff." And Grandma said, "Oh, I need that for Grandpa's achy knees. Let me
Yeah.
get some of that cream." And people started
Yeah.
reaching out to me about this, and this was in 2015. And at least here on the East
Wow.
Coast, there was no CBD anywhere, which is why I started doing this in the first place. You couldn't
Yeah.
get your hands on the stuff. I mean, it was
Right.
still
Yes.
considered like a gray area legally.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so
Or
Yes.
by
you're gonna get in trouble, or the cop's gonna show up and bust you for CBD, right? Right. It
Right.
well,
was
I
great.
kind of skirted by that by saying, look, there's no THC. Like people
No
are not
THC.
getting
Yeah.
intoxicated from this product.
Right.
And
Right.
so I got away with it until the 2018 Farm Bill was passed, which basically legalized all hemp products. And so
Mm.
since then,
Yeah.
we've expanded. I mean, now I went from that to now we operate a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility here in Charlottesville, Virginia. We're working with local growers
Wow.
all over the state to source organic, high-quality hemp, which we then
Yeah.
extract and isolate and distill and manufacture. I have like 30 products now that we're shipping to all 50 states and internationally, and it's really
Wow.
helping people. I mean, the
Yes.
anecdotal evidence is huge. The testimonials, the product reviews I have for people with pain and people with kids
Yeah.
with serious issues. Like I mean, I wish I had gotten my hands on this when I was 13. It would have made my
Right.
journey a whole lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we know that that was part of just your purpose that you showed up to have this experience. Okay, I'm going to get a little woo-woo here, but so this is what I believe. You showed up, it's somewhat you were like this is, you're coming into the world with purpose, and so you had this big challenge and you walked through it and you tried different things, and I'm sure there were plenty of times when you would have been like, "No, I don't want to do this. This is not I just want to be a normal kid and live my life." But now you're on the other side of it and you're helping other people. And so you're taking that trauma and you're turning it into service for humanity, which is, I mean, why are we here if not for that? That's big
Mm.
work. That's big, important work.
Yeah.
So well done.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I believe it. I mean, I always tell people I'm not special. I'm not a doctor. Like I'm just someone who faced my challenges and decided like I'm going to never give up. I'm just going to keep pushing
Yeah.
forward until I find what works. And I had a
Yeah.
period in my life there where I succumbed to my illness and said like I kind of went cold turkey through a few years and just dealt with my symptoms and just used what I knew worked, and it wasn't
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
continuing to push through that, you're absolutely right. I think every single one of us here on planet Earth is handed a difficulty or a challenge or some kind of obstacle. And if you haven't faced that yet, you certainly will.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so just
Kind of no getting
again,
around it, right?
Buck up.
Yes.
Here it comes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's those challenges that make us who we are. We either give
Yes.
up and succumb to it, or we own it and figure out a way to get past it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my message is just hope to parents who have kids who are dealing with this to say,
Yeah.
like, look, you can cross over and end up on the other side with a lifetime of experiences and knowledge and even expertise that you can share to help others go through
Yeah.
this.
And
Yeah.
you have this
That's
big,
wonderful.
beautiful life now. You have three daughters, right?
Or
And oh
Four.
boy, and four girls.
Girl power.
And you're a pilot, is that right? You're a private pilot?
I am. That was one of my bucket list items. That was one of my dreams as a kid to fly planes. And for a while, I thought, because of my illness, I would never have the opportunity
Yeah.
to do that. But part of the licensing process is passing a medical exam. And that
Yep.
was like the big victory for me to say, like, oh, the sky's not the limit. I've
Yeah.
healed in order
Yes.
to pass this medical exam. And when I'm flying, I have zero ticks. I mean, I'm completely
Ah,
focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that just brings me relief and like euphoria being up there, being in control of
Yes.
the plane and flying, and that was like a big victory moment for me when I
Yes.
did. But I have a
Woo-hoo.
beautiful
I
family, and
yes.
I've just been so blessed.
Yeah.
It's incredible. My wife is so supportive of everything we do, and she helps with like my cognitive behavioral therapy when it's needed, and all the things that we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So
amazing.
you mentioned that just because Marcy and I are tool gals, we talk about the tools and how to use the tools. So there's not just the CBD. We're going to get all the information about your CBD out at the end, but there are other things that you do to maintain your health and well-being. So talk about
Mhm.
that a little bit because Marcy and we're into tools, so we want to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, so I don't believe there's such a thing as a miracle pill. So
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
never put like portray a product that way, including my own. It certainly can be a miracle if you're looking for relief for certain
Yeah.
things, but I always tell people like don't expect this to just get rid of your problems unless you're t going to take it for the rest of your life. Like there's other things we
Mhm.
need to be doing to
Yeah.
heal regardless of what you're facing. And I think, again, I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe any certain things or medications or any protocols, not even specific diets, because we're all on a different playing field.
Yes.
Everybody's
Yeah.
different. Everybody has different deficiencies and things they're good at. So what I recommend is the things that probably we all know we should be doing already. Eating
Yes.
a healthy diet, an anti-inflammatory diet of whole foods, avoiding sugars, processed foods, alcohol, all that stuff is so important. And I think more
Mhm.
often than not, many of us we wait until we have a health crisis to actually like even
Yeah.
Yeah.
examine that and change our habits.
Yeah.
You talked about meditation also, and that you do weightlifting, which you said like it's a like protein is like this bucket for helping you to maintain your wellness, right? So
Yeah, it's interesting. My functional medicine doctor has described it the muscle mass I've gained as a sink for eosinophils, those
that
inflammatory
that was
compounds.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's
I had not
fascinating.
heard that before either. I called it something else, but yeah, the sink for eosinophils, eosinophils.
Yeah,
That's
that
Yeah.
interesting.
it's the scientific name for those inflammatory compounds that are causing
Yes.
that inflammation in all of my symptoms. So, quite frankly, I used to be very underweight. I was 135 pounds as a college
Mm.
student, like skin and bones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I thought that was healthy. I thought if I wasn't like overweight, then I was healthy, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
in fact, you can be underweight and still have issues, and because of that, my those inflammatory compounds, those white blood cells, those strep antibodies had nowhere to go except invade areas where they shouldn't be, like my
That makes
basal
sense.
ganglia. So
Yeah.
since then, I've gained almost 60 pounds of muscle mass. I'm very strong. I look better. I feel better.
Yeah.
Right. It helps with many other areas of my health, but
Yeah.
namely for PANDAS, it's actually a place for those inflammatory compounds to go and do what they're supposed to do rather than crossing my blood-brain barrier. So, in
Oh,
effect,
that's fascinating.
the muscle
Right?
mass, it's
Yeah.
diluted the effect of those compounds on my body because there's more of me, and it's also
Hmm.
given them a place to go so that it keeps them out of my brainstem.
Yeah. That's
Amazing.
really interesting. We know that weightlifting is such a good exercise for so many reasons. For
Hmm.
especially as we age and just being strong. Just it's functional. Like you're strong, then you can function in the world. And isn't that really in the end that's what we want? We want to be able to
Yeah.
show up and do the hike when you're out there with your family, or lift your kids or lift your grandkids, or be able to reach up into the cupboard when you're 85 and pull out the things you need, walk up the stairs. So muscles good. But
Muscles
that's
good.
interesting about how it affected your. Yeah, love that.
Wow, this has been such an enlightening conversation. I'm afraid we're out
Yeah.
of time, Ethan, but my gosh, you're doing amazing things, and
Yeah.
we want
Tell
to
us
make
how
sure.
people who are interested in your product can get it. And is it, so we've talked a little bit about laws and this and that, but is it something that can be shipped anywhere in the US? I think you kind of alluded to that. How would people find it if they're interested in learning more and possibly ordering some?
Yeah, my product is legal to ship all throughout the U.S. and even to most international destinations. So I've been
Okay.
fortunate to ship all over the world. It's really cool. We've reached people in places that I've never even been, which is really neat. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say if you'd like to learn more about my story and some of the other things that I've done, yep, prayer, meditation, like body, mind, spirit, I touch all aspects of that in
Mhm.
my blog. And I'm also I've been working on a book, full length story of mine for the last year or so. I'm looking to publish
Ah,
that this summer. So I'll send you the link where you can
Well
put in your
done.
email, and we'll ping you when the book comes out, and you
nice.
Oh,
can
great.
check it
Okay.
out. But for now, my blog has a few posts about like PANDAS and what I've done, and you can get a deeper look at that if you're interested. And the website's a huge resource. There's so much information on there about CBD and the
And what
products.
is your website?
It's greenvalleynutrition.com.
Okay. And we're going to put all these links in the show notes, but for anyone
Yeah.
who wants to just grab it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. And you can reach out to us. We are here to help. So regardless if you purchase our product or not, we can at least point you in the right direction, answer some of your questions and concerns, and hopefully get you on the right path.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well done,
Wow.
Ethan. I'm glad that
Yeah.
your journey has brought you to such a great place and that you're turning it into good for others.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing
Yeah.
this. I think awareness and education is key.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's lots of opportunities to get involved and learn more.
You're an
Awesome. Thank you.
inspiration for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Hey, warrior moms. As we started this podcast, we had determined that part of what we were going to do is to create a community. So we have decided to take it to another level, and we have started our own Facebook community in addition to the Warrior Parent podcast, and it's called
From Chaos to Calm, a sanctuary for moms. Here's what it looks like. It's on Facebook right now. Please go and join it. And just to let you know, we're going to create our Blue Sky accounts right now. We're getting prepared as we watch this weird stuff go on in America. So we may be shifting the whole group to Blue Sky. Just be aware that we got you. You're going to start here. If this turns out to be not a safe place anymore on Facebook, then we will shift over. But what we're creating is a safe space where moms can show up and get information, get support, talk to each other about the things you're going through with your kids, the things you went through with your kids, maybe get some advice from moms, but also other experts. We're going to invite all of our guests and experts to join the group. I hope you will too. This is a place where you can show up and be seen and be heard and be safe. Mom's got you.
Nobody Trusts anyone more than moms. So let's do this.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Today's affirmation is, all is well. We can say this aloud and know that it is true in spite of what's going on. All is well. I encourage you to speak it aloud and know that something better is unfolding in spite of what's going on. All is well.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Core Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Veeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.